Today, chapter 5, still talking about 5 elements. And talking about yin-yang relationship with 5 elements. So chapter 5. Yeah, chapter 5. We say yin-yang. That's just the yin and the yang. Ying xiang. Xiang is picture. Ying means matching with picture. So that's about yin and yang relationship with picture, and Da is bigger, Lu is discussed, pian is chapter. So basically, in this chapter, we discuss, we mainly discuss about yin yang and the relationship with everything in the natural. Because yin yang we can see in the natural things. So that's basically in this chapter. So the form still Huang Di asks questions, and then the teacher answers. So we say Huang Di, they say questions. Basically, they mention some basic idea about TTM already. So Huang Di said yin yang is a dao or ruler or law. So that's of the heaven and the earth. So we say between the heaven and the earth, we separate the yin and the yang. Heaven is the yang, earth is the yin. Thus, including everything, we can separate yin and the yang. And everything changing, like a beginning and death. Everything changing. Thus, basically, yin yang control everything. So that's this sentence. This means yin yang how important. So that means our treatment illness still need to follow the yin and the yang. So basically, in this case, firstly, we talking about yin yang, we can matching with everything. They talking about price of changing, means originally that's the ruler of the yin and the yang. Without yin yang, without everything, just like a parents have the baby. Without parents, no baby. So that's basically in this case. And then still mention yin and yang. So yang basically is clear part, rising up and from the heaven. And the yin basically is tuber part, descending and from the earth. And the yin is more like a quiet, and the yang is more moving. So that's still the same, like we usually talking about yin and yang. And the yang is more expanding. Yin is more contracting. And the yang is the energy. Like usually we talk about the qi. Some translator. So people didn't learn TCM. They don't understand it. What means qi? Life energy. Yang is energy. So that's everything life belongs to yang. It must be have yang in there. And the yin is the foundation. This kind of foundation is like a mom gave everything to growing up. Just give us some example here. Still the basic idea we talked about yin yang before. And the yang, we say, transform qi. And the yin form the form. So how we understanding this sentence here? So basically, all body qi is coming yang aspected. And the body form coming from belong to yin. So we say yang is more moving. Yin is more like a quiet, not that moving. When talking about yin-yang relationship here, so cold certainly belong to yin, but extremely cold will generate heat. So that's yin-yang changing here. Severe kind of yin finally will be changing to yang. And the severe kind of heat will be producing cold that belong to yin. So here just talking about yin yang is different. They coming from different sources, but they can changing each other. And then talking about cold. Yeah. So cold qi. We say qi mainly belong to yang, but we remember yin yang we can separate yin yang again and yin yang again and yin yang again. So in qi aspected, yeah, in qi aspected, Han is cold. Yeah. Cold that still belong to yin part of the qi. Generates pure yin. And the 热 is heat, heat qi, producing clear yang. So this sentence just tell us, during the yin yang, we can separate the yin yang again. So yin yang is not only absolutely, they are relative each other. They can change each other, and they can separate again to yin yang again. So we're talking about the clear part, yeah, yang part of the qi. Should be rushing up, yeah, should be rushing down. We say clear part should be rushing down. When they descending, yeah, when they descending, so that will cause the problem. So the problems we cause is kind of a diarrhea with undigested food. So pretty similar like we talking about yin yang deficiency and spin yang deficiency kind of circulation. And then we're talking about puberty. Puberty normally will be descending. If it ascending, that will cause abdominal distension and bloating sensation. So that's the disorder of yin yang if they are moving not normally. So we say we should follow the yin yang ruler. If we are not follow the yin yang ruler, the illness will be heightened. So that's basically in this page, we're talking about the yin yang relationship. And if they have some trouble, you are not follow the ruler, what's the problem? It will be heightened. So that's in the human body. Yeah, that's in the human body. Now we're talking about in the natural. Naturally, clear yang qi rising up from the heaven. From the heaven. So puberty qi descending from the earth. So that's naturally. And then we have earth qi. Yeah, earth qi originally, if we separate heaven and earth, heaven should be yang, earth should be yin. But we say yang separate yin yang again, and yin separate yin yang again. So earth qi, certainly yang part rising up, is from the cloud. And the heaven qi descending, so yin part producing raining. So that's talking about yin yang community each other. So yin yang will be community each other. Otherwise, yin yang will be separate. So for the human body, for the natural, yin yang both will be community each other. So earth qi rising up and the heaven qi descending. That's kind of community. So raining originally coming from earth qi rising up and from the cloud. And then they go down. So that's we say raining is the combination earth qi and the heaven qi. So that's kind of community in there. So just give the natural things talking about yin yang community each other. Then we still go back talking about the human being. The human being still clear yang qi, normally moving up to the upper orifice. Puberty yin qi moving down into the lower orifice. So that's the normally yang qi, clear yang, and the puberty yin moving each other. So that's upper and down. The upper, so upper part of the body belong to yang. So clear yang moving upper. Lower part of the body belong to yin. Tuber yin moving down. Then we talking about, we separate the superficial part and the deeper part. Superficial part, we say that part we call Shou Li. What means Shou Li? That's kind of between muscles and muscles, some space there. So clear yang go to superficial part of the body, like between the muscles and the space there. And the tuberous part belong to Yin, go to Five Zang Organs. Other words, it's deeper part of the body. So that's go to the Zang organs. That's go to between the muscles and the muscles, muscular. So that's they say yang and the yin. If they go like a superficially, that's yang. If they go deeperly, that's yin. That's the normal ruler here. And we say clear yang, go to superficial of the body, go to the muscles. Certainly they nourishing or tonify or stronger the limbs. And the tuber yin go to the internal organs. Now we go to different way to say here. So basically, we say tuber yin go to internal organs. They still talking about should be including Zang organ and the organ. So we're talking about the superficial, superficial. That's the yang organ together belong to yin. Certainly, if we try to separate organs, some organ belong to yin, organ belong to yang. But remember here, we're just talking about superficial of the body, compare superficial of the body and with organs. So that means superficial of the body still belong to yang, and the organ still belong to yin here. So that's why they talking about the tuber yin go to 6 organs. So basically, these two sentences pretty similar here. Just the first sentence mainly talking about the Zang organ. Second sentence mainly talking about the Fu organ. So, but generally say Yang Qi go to superficial of the body, and Yin Qi go to deeper part of the body, go to the organs. We go over all the chapters and then to see if we have questions to discuss. And then water belong to yin, fire belong to yang. That's everybody pretty familiar already. And the yang belong to qi, or yang we use qi. And the yin to the flavor. flavor that's in part nourishing the body, and the qi nourishing the essence. Like if we eating some food, if we're eating some food, the yang part of the nutrition, maintenance or physical kind of movement, that's we're talking about the qi. The yin part of the nutrition, build up of our bodies, like people can from young and go up, that's the yin part of the nutrition. And the qi nourishing the essence. So that's we're talking about qi and the essence relationship in here. And the essence also can transform to yuan qi. So that's we're talking about, like each of the meridians, we have yuan south points, and we have yuan qi storage in there. So basically, we're talking about they transforming each other. The relationship, like nutrition with qi and with yin, and the qi relationship with essence, and the essence relationship with the qi. They transform each other. Then we say essence. We say essence absorption qi. Like the last sentence, we say qi can nourishing the essence. So here we just from the essence aspect to say essence absorbs the qi. So that's qi coming from our nutrition of the food. So we say everything separate yin and yang, including the food we eat. Still have yang part and still have yin part. So that's yang part transforming to qi, and the yin part build up the body. So that's the last sentence say. This sentence still say the same thing. So now they just talking about from this aspect. Qi coming from the food, yang part. And the body take the flavors coming from the food. That's the yin part. They still say the same thing, but they just from other aspects to talking about. So the essence, the essence still coming from of our food. So that's the food, the food after digestion, then producing essence, like still we're talking about tea, nourishing the essence. It's more explanation. And also qi nourishing the body. We say qi part, we have yin part, we have yang part. Yang part nourishing the essence, yin part nourishing the body. So that's still talking about the normal function here. Normal function here. Then talking about abnormal kind of condition. Abnormal kind of condition. So if excessive flavors will damage the body, and excessive qi damage essence. Just like we say, the qi nourishing the essence, the yin or flavor nourishing the body. But they need kind of balance. Too much will be damaged. Qi will damage, too much qi, damage essence. Too much flavor means yin, damage body. And the essence can transform to the qi. That's still the same thing. Still the same. And the qi can be damaged by excessive flavor. So that's here talking about the yin-yang relationship. We say qi build up the body, and the qi can transform essence, and the flavor can build up the body. Too much qi damage essence, too much flavor damage the body, but also too much qi, too much qi. Also possible damage by too much yin. So that's too much yin damage yang, too much yang damage yin kind of relationship in there. Just give an example. So in other words, what we talking about here? If people like eating the food not properly, that not only damage yin, not only damage body, they also damage yang, and also damage essence. So basically, in this part, talking about the food is more important. What we taking need properly. If not properly, they may damage both yin and yang. So how important? So like when we talking about diagnosis, we talking about different reasons cause illness. We have external reason, we have internal reason. And another category, we talking about others. What means others? Anything not belong to externally reason. We talk about 6 passages coming from externally, like wind, cold, dampness. And internally, we talk about 7 emotions. Everything not belong to externally, not belong to internally, we say others. Others, including the food we eat. So that's an important part. So we say originally TCM not truly teaching us or teaching the people how to treat illness. They tell people how to prevent illness. So that means food taking is very important. Like in last 2 weeks, we talked about follow the seasonally and follow the season changing, how we do exercises, and how we can, what time is good for rest, what time is good for work. Now we talk about food important here. So still talking about the food, food. In food, in part is belong to flavor, like tasty. Yeah, what kind of food we tasty there? So they will finally discharging from the lower orifice. And the yang part, yang part, we say that's qi. Yeah. Go out from upper orifice. So low, we say we have 2 lower orifice. We have 7 upper orifice. So that's we say in part of the qi. Yeah, in part of the qi. Usually we use the flavor inside of the qi. But basically it's in part of the qi coming from nutrition. Go to the lower orifice. And the clear part, yang part of the qi, go to the upper orifice. And the flavors belong to yin. But we say yin, we still can separate the yin yang again. Yeah, remember. Or yin yang separate yin yang again. The thick part, yeah, thicker part of flavor belong to yin, and the thin part flavor belong to yang, or we can say yang with yin. So thin part we can say yin with yin. So that's the yin yang separate yin yang again. And the yang we separate, so qi belong to yang. Qi belong to yang, but we still can separate yang and yin. So thin part belong to yang because they originally is yang, stronger yang in there. They still belong to yang. And the thin part of qi is yin with yang, or yin part of yang. So that's talking about doing yin yang, we separate yin yang again. So we still have yin and yang. Then, so we're talking about the food. Food is heavy or tubular. That's basically belong to yin with yin part. So that's too much in there, and then they go to lower orifice, and that may cause diarrhea. But the food, the latter part, that's kind of yang with yin part, that can circulation through the meridian. So that's basically, if we say too much yin with yin, that will cause the problem. In the last page, we talk about excessive flavor in there. And then we talking about yang part. Then we talking about yang part. We say think qi, their functions, dispersion, means moving each other. But think qi, generate heat, means too much yang. In yin part, too much yin cause problems. In yang part, too much yang cause problems. So thus we say everything not too much. We need the balance. Thus basically TCM idea in here. Then we talking about stronger kind of fear, reducing qi, and the mild kind of fear, tonify qi. So we still talking about everything not too much. Stronger fear, that's like too much yang there, will damage qi. But mild fear, stronger qi. Then we talking about the reason here, stronger kind of fear consuming qi. But mild kind of fear is warming qi. And the stronger fear dispersing qi. And the mild fear support qi. Still the same idea here. Still the same idea here. So thus we say normally, the heat belongs to yang, but not too over. It's too over, still damage qi. Qi need like yang warming, but too stronger will disperse it. And in the yin part, in the flavor part, so like you learn the herbs, you learn the herbs. The herbs still have different kind of flavor. Pungent and sweet belong to yang, kind of more moving there, and more dispersing. And the sour and the bitter belong to yin. So the sour and the bitter flavor have functions, maybe cause the people like vomiting and cause the purging down. So that means couldn't holding properly inside the body. So still, like a yang dispersing, what means dispersing? Go to superficial of the body. And the yin go to internal organs. And from internally and release. Maybe vomiting out, maybe from stool, purging out. So that's still talking about different flavors. And then talking about illness. So excessive yang, too much yang, too much yin, too much yin will result illness of yang illness. Too much yang learned the illness will be yin illness. Like we say, too much cold changing to heat, too much heat changing to cold. That kind of yin-yang relationship or transmission here. they can change each other. Like people got EPI rating. Originally, it's EPI in cold, but when they evading inside the body and cause stagnation, and stagnation can change into heat. And too much heat inside the body, they damage body fluid, damage in part. So that's yin yang changing each other. So here, say too much yang generate heat, and too much yin producing cold, and accumulate cold, and will bring about to heat. So basically still the same idea here, to heat, and too much heat will result cold. Generally say cold damage the body, heat damage the qi. So this page still talking about yin yang changing, and yin yang. If too much yin or too much yang, they will damage each other. So basically, we are still in the foundation part. And the qi damaged, damaged qi caused the pain. Damaged body caused the swollen. So we say patient have some damage. They may damage qi, they may damage the body. Damaged qi cause painful situation. We say qi blocking. Qi blocking, people will have painful situation. And the damaged body, we truly can see it locally swollen there. So thus we separate the condition here. If patient swollen first, the painful firstly they painful, then locally swollen. So thus we say qi damage first. And if patient swollen first, then painful. So basically, clinically, qi damage cause painful swollen, and swollen body damage still cause painful swollen. So how we can separate what's the root cause problem? So that's the swollen first, then painful. That's the body damage. So that's we separate the reason cause the problem. So that's we say from yin cause or from yang cause, we separate here. Then still talking about the passages. Excessive wind, excessive wind. So we say cause the illness, we have external reasons. External reasons, we have six. External reasons, we have six. Wind, heat, dryness, dampness, and cold. And another one should be summer heat, not in here. So we say, generally say we have 6 external passengers. So excessive wind cause the tremor moving. Basically, the tremor moving on the limb.
Jin,
Yes, go ahead.
just below it says cold results in, is that drowsy?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And the excessive heat, cause the swollen. So some people got inflammations locally, dryness and swollen there. And excessive dryness, excessive dryness. So these words still means dry, still means dryness. Excessive dry caused more dry, like locally losing moisture in there. And excessive cold result. So that's the words. I'm not sure that's the right translation or not. Basically, kind of edema, kind of swollen there, but no, without redness. So locally still swollen, but not redness, kind of edema kind of condition. And excessive kind of dampness caused people water diarrhea. So in this page, we're talking about external passenger caused illness. What kind of situation will be happen, including excessive wind, excessive heat, and excessive dryness, excessive cold, and dampness. So that's basically we're talking about external passengers. And naturally, like for a year, we have 4 seasons. And everything grows in follow the 4 seasons. So we have 5 elements. So that kind of movement for our year. We say the 5 elements for the 4 seasons. We say spring season and the summer and the fall and the winter. So these 4 seasons, just like our blood, responsible for these 4 seasons. In the spring season, everything coming. That's for the cooperating with the spring season. Just means everything starts to life like the plants. And in the summer seasons, everything grows in. That's the summer season. And in the fall, it's repeating. Or we start from received food. And in the winter, we should store it. So that's the basically like our food grows in the circle, or any plants grows in the circle here. And similar like the season changing. So season changing, like from the cold, certainly in the winter, and gradually go to summer, and then go to the dryness. So they didn't follow the circle here. So basically, wind should be go to the spring season, cold go to the winter, but they just didn't marching with it the order here. I think that is like pronunciation thing. Yeah, pronunciation thing for Chinese characters pronunciation. So they just put a wind on the ending part, but truly, if we follow seasons, wind should be go to the spring season. We have a pretty long sentence here. And in the human body, we have 5 Zang organs. We should marching with naturally. So that we say 5 Zang organs producing 5 kind of qi. We say heart qi, liver qi, kidney qi. So that's relationship with 5 emotional activity. So that's we say qi is the heart, qi, or enjoy, that's the heart qi relationship. Nu, angry, is the liver qi relationship. Bei, sadness, grief, is lung qi relationship. Yu, anxiety, is the spring qi relationship. Hong, pian, is the kidney qi relationship. So human beings have 5 Zang organs, have 5 Zang qi in there, and the relationship with 5 different kind of emotions. That's 5 different kind of emotion relationship with 5 Zang qi here. And then we talking about excessive kind of emotions still damage the body. Joy and angry damage qi. Excessive. We talking about everything excessive will damage the body. And then talking about excessive cold and summer heat damage body. So that means yin. So that's basically here just give us some examples So we say sometimes, yes, sometimes, if emotions excessive will damage, cause the illness. And also seasonally excessive will damage body also. And suddenly, yeah, suddenly people get angry, damaging. We say generally say angry damages qi. So that's still yin yang relationship in there. Too much qi damage and will damage yin also. So that's still things we separate yin yang again. So generally say emotions, generally say emotions belong to yang. Generally say emotions belong to yang. So too much emotions damages qi. But during emotions, we still can separate yin yang again. So joy belong to yang, and angry belong to yin. So that's the next sentence. They separate yin yang again here. So suddenly big angry damage yin, and suddenly big joy damage yang. So still give us example here. Anything we can separate yin yang again and again and again. So that's talking about. And the worst flowing of qi basically means qi go to wrong directions. So that's qi go to wrong directions and will go to the channel more further. So that's basically can cause the disforming of the body. That's still cause some illness or condition in there. So that's we say whatever joy or angry, excessive cold or heat will damage body. So still fathers say everything we need a balance, including emotions, including like cold or heat conditions. If too much will damage the body. So just give an example here. Certainly we have 5 emotions, but just give an example here. And still mention here. So extremely yin will turn into yang, and more severe kind of yang changing is yin. So that's we say attacking by cold in the winter will lending to warm diseases or fever diseases in the spring. So the follow season we talked about already. Or attacking by wind in the spring and will cause the illness in the follow season in the summer. diarrhea, and attacking by the summer heat, leading to malaria in the autumn, and attacking by the dampness in the fall, cause the cough in the winter. So that's basically is some changing inside the body. It's more complicated than only in changing to yang or only from yang changing to yin. It's more complicated, but basically from the same season and cause the illness will come in with the follow season, and the cold illness can change into heat illness. Heat illness can change into cold illness. So up to here, just one big mention. Yeah, one big mention. Talking about the yin yang naturally and how excessive they will cause the damage inside the body. So that's a pretty long like paragraph here. Okay, to see in this part if we have any questions. Yeah, pretty long here. Looks good. Yeah, this part is pretty long. It is pretty long. Yeah. So that's for this part. Yeah, this part. So all of our foundations idea coming from originally, we say coming from Huang Di Nei Jing. So that's originally we talking about the yin yang relationship and the yin yang changing here. So that's we say Huang Di mentions here. It's not truly asked a question, but it's Huang Di mentioned here. Okay. How many pages do we have? 18. Okay, let's continue here. Then still Huang Di asked, heard about in the surgeons, in the ancient time, the surgeons, they study the structures of the human body. And then they find the different function of Zang organs and the relationship with the meridians or channels. So that's Huang Di ask a question here. Not finished yet. The finally is the question. And talking about acupoints. Yeah. Acupoints, they have their locations, they have their name, and also like they connected with internally and externally, and also have the qi flowing directions. It's pretty clear, kind of have yin and yang and changing in the 4 seasons, follow some rulers. It's everything right? So basically, talking about some acupoints and the relationship with the internal and the channel relationship. They must be have some connecting external internal relationship. Is right? So that's the Huang Di's question. Then Qibor answers. Yeah, Qibor answers. Qibor answers start from externally, talking about Eastern relationship with wind. So basically, this part, 5 elements. Yeah, 5 elements. And the wind belong to tree, and the tree producing the salty nourishing the liver nourishing the sinners, and the sinners nourishing the heart. Thus, still 5 elements, mother-son relationship here. Wood, liver, heart, fat. Certainly, mother nourishing the fat, and the liver control the eyes. So that kind of marching there, and in the heaven, yeah, and also follows like the heavens. In the heavens, they use the words is 学, like a heaven star stuff in there, and use the human bodies, we use the Tao. That's the ruler or principle in the human being. And the Hua, transmission in the earth. So that's basically everything we connected each other here for 5 elements. If we say that ruler in the heaven, we use a special word. In human being, we usually use the Dao. That's the words we use. In earth, we talk about Hua. And the transmission producing 5 different kinds of flavors. If we understanding that's the ruler, like 玄道化 there, in the heaven changing, in the human body changing, in the earth changing, so that's we know everything. So that means we know everything changing in the natural. So that's Jay's explanation here. And another words we use the Sheng. The Sheng exactly the same Chinese characters when we talk about spirit. So we use Sheng here. Basically, we're talking about everything changing. We are not truly talking about spirit here. We're talking about everything changing in the world. Thus, we use the same word, spirit. So that's basically that kind of changing. In the heaven is the wind. In the earth is the tree. In the body is the sinner. So we're still talking about 5 elements. Wood. Yeah. In the human body, the liver, in the organ, and the blue in the color, that's the music. Yeah, the music. We're talking about the music relationship with 5 organs also. So I put a chart here, especially for the music and the relationship with the organs. So that's do, re, mi, so, la, do again. Yeah. So that's about music and its name and its name, and marching right now with normally music we talk about. So certainly we have a half in here not belong to five music, and we have half here not belong to five music. So liver in here. So that's in the ancient time talking about the sounds. Even in diagnosis, we talking about sound. Basically, we talking about the music sound in here. And the actions, grabbing, and the eyes in orifice do the same. Yeah. Sour intensity, angry emotions. Then talking about excessive. Yeah. Excessive angry will damage liver. And the sorry dominate over the angry. So still talking about five elements relationship. So control circle here. Yeah, control circle here. Metal control the wood. And the people sadness or sorry control the angry. So in ancient time, truly some TCM doctors, they use emotions and control other emotions or other organs disorder. So that's basically is control circle here. And also dryness belong to metal. Will be control the wind. And the sour flavor damage the sinners. And the pungent flavor control the sourness. So still five elements control circle here. With the control, they will like balance. So that's give us example about the liver here, about the liver here. Then the others pretty similar. Yeah, then the others pretty similar. South produces heat. That's five elements belong to fire. And the relationship with the heart. And the flavor belong to bitter. So that's in the heaven, yeah, in the heaven, is the heat. In the fire is the earth. And the channel, usually we use vessels, yeah, vessels, blood like blood vessels, control in the heart, red in the color. And then still talking about music there. And the voice is laughing. And grief in changing. Yeah, grief in changing. So still talking about five elements control here. Yeah, five elements here. So grief, yeah, grief basically this one it belongs to spring. That's mother-son relationship here. So heart have issues, spring have issues. Then they go back, tongue in orifice, bitter taste, joy emotions, and excessive joy damage heart. And which five elements control fear? And the heat damage qi, and the cold still belong to kidney. Dominate over the heat. And the bitter damage qi, salty flavor. So still talking about the 5 elements and its relationship here. Its relationship. So that's basically. And then they talk about the center. The center belongs to spleen. Yeah, center belongs to spleen. And west belongs to lung. Nose belongs to kidney. Just the 5 organ relationship with natural there. And finally, that part you can see yourself already. Basically, we talked about relationship already. So finally, let's say heaven and earth, up or down, including everything. So yin yang simple, opposite, like we talking about qi and blood relationship. And the left side and the right side kind of relationship. But the basically water and the fire are the symbol of yin and yang. We have lot of things we belong to yin and belong to yang, but the basic symbol of yin yang is water and fire. So even Chinese character look like the moon and the sun in there. But truly in Huang Di Nei Jing talking about the symbol of the yin and the yang, that's the water and the fire. I think when we go to cover review class, we have one multiple choice question there. What's the basic symbol of the yin yang? That's the water and the fire. That's basically coming from Huang Di Nei Jing here. So that's basically in these chapters, yang maintenance outside, yin maintenance inside. So that's basically outside belongs to yang, inside belongs to yin. So this is this chapter. It's pretty long chapter.